Welcome back, everybody, to the Baltimore Orioles franchise here on MLB The Show 21. Today's episode is going to be an exciting one as we have the Season 3 off-season, one of the most fun videos to do each season of the series. Of course, last episode we had Game 7 of the ALCS against the Twins and unfortunately lost by the final score of 3-0. So it was a very unfortunate and disappointing end to the season, but still a really successful season nonetheless, going 95-67, completely outperforming all expectations, and we were only one win away from making the World Series. Before we get into the offseason, I quickly want to go through the regular season stats. I'm not going to spend more than a couple of minutes with these, but we did not get a great look right at the end of the season of the final stats, so we are going to show them real quickly. A lot of young guys really played well. Of course, we saw the emergence of rookie Louis St. John, who was an all-star. Anthony Rizzo was extraordinary after the trade deadline. Adley Rutschman in the lineup was also an all-star. And in the postseason, we saw young guys like Jalen Miller and Elliot Ramos really step up their games. Christian Robinson as well. Those three guys were arguably our most consistent hitters throughout the playoffs, and those were guys who in the regular season usually hit towards the bottom of the lineup, which I think goes to show how much talent this lineup has. The pitching was a little bit more on and off for us this season. We were an offense-first team, and specifically our rotation was what was inconsistent. Yadier Marquez was acquired mid-season, and he never really was all that great for us, and the rest of the rotation never really had a true ace. We also never really had a true fifth starter, rotating in guys like Max Meyer, Eliezer Hernandez, and Grayson Rodriguez. The strength of the pitching, though, was the bullpen, and man, was this pen good. We made quite a few moves in the offseason, getting some veterans, and clearly it paid off. So at the beginning of the series, I accidentally kept GM contracts on for whatever reason. Good thing we made the playoffs, or else that would have been kind of bad. I guess I would have had to go on back and tried to, I don't know, figure out a way to stay with the Orioles, but luckily that's not going to be an issue since we did end up making the postseason. So we do have a player retiring from our organization, and it's catcher Yadier Molina, the longtime St. Louis Cardinal, split between AA and AAA this season to work with our younger catchers. A few other notable players around the league, including Miguel Cabrera, retiring at the conclusion of his super long mega deal that he got from the Tigers. Quite a few other notable players in here: Robinson Cano, Matt Kemp, Yu Darvish, and quite a few other ones in the free agency pool. Cano and Cabrera end up making the Hall of Fame. Let me know if you think those players should make the Hall of Fame in real life in the comments below. Miggy, of course, does, but I think Cano is going to be a little bit more controversial. So we do have a lot of exclusive rights free agents. These players are not under team control. They can be unrestricted free agents this offseason, and I want to bring a lot of them back. So at starting pitcher, we have our two highest rated starters in German Marquez and Eduardo Rodriguez. I think it's wise to pay one of them, not both of them. And of the two, I would rather bring back Marquez. I know he had a pretty disappointing season for us, but he was really good in the first two seasons of the series. And he only wants $7.5 million, which in my opinion is awfully cheap. So we're going to give him a 3-year, $24 million deal with a player and team option for year 3. So this means that I do plan on letting Eduardo Rodriguez go. He's been a fun player to have the past couple seasons, but he's older than Marquez, he's worse than Marquez, and he wants more money. So I don't really see much of a reason to bring him back. The bullpen here is interesting with Taylor Rogers, Kenyon Middleton, and Alex Colomé, because all three of them are very good. But we have so much young talent in the farm system with our bullpen. I think guys like Felix Rosa are going to be ready to be full-time major leaguers. And then players like Will Brooks, Hideki Asuncion, Julian Starnes, Cosmo Cruz, Matthias Hundertwasser. I think all of those guys are ready to be big leaguers. So I don't really want to bring all these guys back. They're not asking for a ton of money, and I'm not opposed to bringing them back in the open market. But for right now, we're going to let all three of them walk. The other free agent who is a big deal for us is first baseman Anthony Rizzo, who of course we picked up at the trade deadline from the Chicago Cubs, and man was he a good pickup. He was extraordinary in the final 2 months of the season for us. He was also very good in the postseason as well, although he did kind of struggle in those final few games. I think it would be a mistake for us not to bring him back based on how he played down the stretch last year. So we're going to give him a 2-year deal, $15 million, that's $7.5 per season, with a player and team option. I imagine he will accept the player option at the end of next season, so pretty much that is a team option, but we're making him think that he has leverage when he really doesn't. We're not going to offer Darren O'Day. I didn't talk about him, but we're not going to bring him back. Sorry, Darren. So for our coaching staff, we do have an open position at manager, but I really want to bring back Carlos Feebles because I think he's done a pretty good job for us these past couple of seasons, and I don't really see a reason to get rid of him. So we're going to offer a 3-year, $12 million contract. That is $4 million per season. And we're going to offer Bobby Beard to be our new farm director, 3 years, $5.5 million total. So we're going to simulate up to the first part of free agency. Bobby Beard does not accept our offer. He is the new manager of the Oakland Athletics. Our backup option, Nick Hardy, also declined, but we ended up settling on Rich Cuba, who accepted to be our farm director for a 3-year deal. And it also said earlier that Carlos Feebles will accept our position to be the manager. So Feebles is back, and Cuba is now going to be the farm director going forward. So now we get to the fun stuff, including free agency. And yes, this free agency class is absolutely loaded, I know. But we're not going to talk about free agency quite yet. We're going to get to that in a little bit. I do want to point out that both Marquez and Rizzo have accepted their contracts, so they are now officially back. But we do have some dirty work to go through before free agency, and that includes calling Rule 5 eligible players up to the 40-man, so we're going to bring up DL Hall and Xavier Edwards. I did not want either of them to get selected in the Rule 5 draft because that'd be pretty bad. So for arbitration, we are going to offer pretty much everybody here. I did not offer Cedric Mullins and Willie Calhoun. I just don't really see a future for either of those players in our organization. But everybody else was offered. For the tendering contract stage, this is for non-arbitration eligible players. And a player I left off on purpose is Louis St. John. Obviously, we're going to bring him back, but I want to sign him long-term now, so we don't have to worry about it later. I could give him like a cheap 3-year deal. However, we're going to offer him an 8-year, $80 million contract that is $10 million per season. Yes, we are paying him more money now than we would otherwise. However, at the end of that contract, when he would normally be making top dollar, he's instead only going to be making $10 million this season. We're not going to be continuing the series in 8 years from now, but we will be doing a long-term sim at the end of this series. So once Louis St. John would have become a free agent, but he'll be under contract for a few more years, I will be thanking myself. For the most part, we didn't really make any other notable moves here in this stage. Every major leaguer or every somewhat good young player in here or draft pick I ended up offering for cheap because that's all they really want, cheap. So moving forward, let's talk about free agency now, and I am not afraid to get bold this offseason. Now that this team is a legitimately good squad, it's time to spend some money. We have $31 million currently tied into player salaries. That does not include the arbitration and tendered contracts we just offered. But we do have enough money to go ahead and make some moves here in this free agency class. And as you guys saw at the sneak peek earlier, this class of players is ridiculously good. There are so many different choices that we could go with here from all different positions, which I think gives us a lot of flexibility to figure out guys we want. Taylor Rogers, Kenyon Middleton, and Alex Colomé are all here. As I said, if they're going to be cheaper, maybe they don't get any offers early, we might get back to them. But let's talk about possibly adding a veteran bat, particularly in the outfield. And a name who stuck out to me was Nick Castellanos for a number of reasons. One, he is a meme, and only cultured baseball fans will understand the meme.
I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
But the real reason why we're signing Castellanos is because he is a baller. He's been ridiculously good all 3 seasons of this series. He was traded from the Reds to the Angels in the middle of year 2 and helped the Angels win a World Series that year. So I think bringing him in as a veteran top offensive option would make a lot of sense for us. He's not great defensively, but he is versatile as he can play all the outfield spots along with both corner and field positions. So he's going to get a 2-year deal for a little bit over $14 million a season with a player option for year 2. I'm assuming he's going to accept that. So that's pretty much a 2-year, $28 million contract, which is currently higher than the Angels offer. Now, just because we do have some of those veterans in the bullpen I'm not going to be bringing back as of right now, that doesn't mean I don't want to improve the bullpen a little bit this offseason. And the flame-throwing Jordan Hicks from the St. Louis Cardinals would be a really fun pickup in my opinion. I don't want to put a long-term investment in him with how much talent we have in the bullpen, but for a 1-year, $9 million contract, I think he could be a pretty good signing for us. And I think him and Edwin Diaz at the end of our bullpen is going to be scary for opposing offenses. Those are the only 2 major league caliber players we offered, and we offered a few minor leaguers as well, including Manny Miranda, who I almost drafted last year. I decided not to. The Yankees did, and they chose not to sign him. So even though we made the mistake of not drafting him, the Yankees made the mistake of not signing him. We're going to offer outfielder Luis Gonzalez. If you remember, we played him a couple of seasons ago in a minor league game, and I compared him to Willie Mays because he was unbelievably impressive. And we're also going to offer Devin Harrison, a shortstop prospect. Normally, we offer more players, but I didn't really want anybody else. So Nick Castellanos immediately accepts our contract. He is a Baltimore Oriole. What a pickup. We're not the only team in our division who's going to go bold, however, as the Boston Red Sox would sign first baseman Rhys Hoskins to a 5-year, $83 million deal. He's going to try to replace the offensive production that Lenny Ling left when he was traded at the deadline to Cleveland. The Phillies are breaking the bank this offseason. They signed Cody Bellinger to a 7-year deal. It did not show here, but they also signed Shohei Ohtani to a big contract, so the Phillies are really getting aggressive. Taylor Rogers, 3 years, $22 from the Diamondbacks. Good for him. I wasn't going to pay him that, but he does deserve it because he is a darn good pitcher, and he was very good for us last year. Julio Urias is a Yankee, 6 years, $171 million, so he is now in our division, which is a very big deal. The Yankees, of course, have unlimited money, it feels like. Jack Flaherty is going to the Blue Jays, 9 years, nearly $200 million total. Matt Olson is going to be a Los Angeles Dodger. The Angels signed Lucas Giolito, who will try to replace some of the production from Shohei Ohtani. Josh Hader will be going to the Nationals on a very team-friendly deal. The Mariners are getting aggressive. They signed Rafael Devers and Yasmani Grandal. So maybe Seattle is finally trying to build a winner with their ball club. So yeah, as you can tell, free agency has been quite wild so far. Jordan Hicks accepted his 1-year, $9 million deal from us, and Louis St. John has also officially signed his 8-year, $80 million deal. The contract is backloaded, so he will make less at the beginning and more towards the end, but once we get to 2029, 2030, 2031, when he would have been making top dollar, he instead will be making a lot less. So really throughout the past year or so, a player who's gone totally under the radar is third baseman Santiago Rivera. He is currently in the minor leagues, and he does not like it. Rivera, per Ken Rosenthal, wants out of Baltimore. He wants to be an everyday third baseman. The Orioles cannot give him that request to at least be a starter there, but they can trade him elsewhere where he will get that opportunity. So Rivera and outfielder Lionel Rangel will be going to the Chicago White Sox in exchange for starting pitching prospect Joseph Olivo from Puerto Rico. 24 years old, 69 overall with B potential. Rivera instantly becomes Chicago's highest-rated third baseman, where he will likely get to start every day, per his wish. The Dodgers signed Gio Urshela, so he's no longer in our division, so that's cool. Tyler Glasnow is also no longer in our division. He is now an Angel, 4 years, $50 million. That's awfully cheap. Harrison Bader, my long-lost brother-in, is going to the Athletics. Adalberto Mondesi is now a Giant for big money. And speaking of the Giants, they're going to offer us a trade. And it's kind of an interesting one. Reyes Moranta, a talented relief pitcher, in exchange for Jay Guy and Patrick Carver, 2 of our draft picks from recent years. We are going to decline that, but I was tempted. Liam Hendricks will be staying in the AL Central. He's now a Twin. Jose Alvarado will be signing a big deal with the Colorado Rockies. The Mariners are going to stay aggressive. They acquire Brandon Lau from the Rays in exchange for Logan Gilbert and Andres Munoz. So it has been a very big offseason for the Mariners. The Angels are going to try to replace Nick Castellanos with his former Reds teammate Jesse Winker on a 4-year deal. The Padres want Max Muncy, and they're willing to offer us our old buddy Trey Mancini, although it would be cool to bring Mancini back. Max Muncy is just a better player, so we are going to say no. On to the Rule 5 draft. We have used the Rule 5 draft in recent years to get us some really good players. However, there was not really anybody on the board who I wanted, so we are going to skip the pick. We're not going to pick anybody in the Rule 5 draft, just because now that we're no longer a super young team, now that we're trying to win a lot of games, I don't think having a young player stuck on the Major League roster all year would be ideal. So, Alex Colomé is still a free agent. Taylor Rogers and Kenyon Middleton are gone. But I figured Colomé won't be that pricey, so we might as well offer him 1 year, $5 million. Why not? Doesn't hurt. And he would end up accepting that deal. Ahmed Rosario signed to the Pirates, 5 years, $45 million. I almost signed him. I was very tempted to do so, but I decided not to. The Mets are going to offer us Joseph Shaw for Everson Pereira. That's going to be a no. Paul DeJong to the Marlins, 4 years, $50 million. The Rays are going to offer us a trade Tim Cloud for Miguel Figueroa, a former Oriole. I have no interest in that because I do really like Tim Cloud. He was one of our mid-round picks last year. So now we are in the month of February, nearing the conclusion of the offseason. We do have to see what happens in the arbitration hearings, and I'm also probably going to possibly want to make some moves in the trade market. So there are only 2 players currently on the block, Starling Marte and Zach Davies. I don't really have any interest in either, so we're not going to look at them. I did simulate forward to see what happened with the arbitration hearings, and the panel, for the most part, sided with the players over our organization, which means the players are going to make slightly more money, which is not ideal, but it's also not the end of the world either because we still have plenty of money. So now we are at the end of February, and now it's time to start talking about some possible big trades. What I really wanted to do this offseason was acquire an ace, because I don't think we have one, and I came up with a deal I really liked. We're going to be sending Cesar Mora, Kevin Maitan, and Liam Bumaye to the Milwaukee Brewers. 3 pretty good young players, but 3 guys who I also don't really see in our future. Bumaye, of course, is the most interesting of the 3. He's only 22 years old, and he's a pretty productive player. But we have so many good outfielders, I don't really feel like we need him. So we're going to be acquiring 2 players, Corbin Burns and Pablo O'Brien. Burns, of course, is the notable guy here. He is the ace of the Brewers staff. But I think there's a reason for Milwaukee to trade him. He had a down season last year. He's on the final year of his contract as well. And the Brewers are just not that great of a team. However, a team like us, who is contending, could really use a guy like Corbin Burns, especially on a buy low deal. Pablo O'Brien was an outfield prospect, 23 years old, 64 overall, with B potential. He's actually not that bad. We're not done making trades, however. I'm going to ship off Everson Pereira and Woody Nieves to the Rockies organization in exchange for catching prospect Patrick Bailey, a 24-year-old switch hitter. Obviously, we have Adley Rutschman, but it does not hurt to add more depth, especially at the catcher position. I do want to make a few more minor league-oriented deals, as we're going to send A.J. Ladwig and Adrian Almeida to the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team who needs some pitching prospects in exchange for second baseman Gerald Fabregas. I wanted to draft Fabregas a few years ago, but he went the pick right before us to the Pirates. Now I don't really feel like they need him. Keyshawn Arsenio is a better prospect. He's a year younger and 7 ratings higher, so they don't really need Fabregas, so why not go ahead and get him? A 1-for-1 player swap. We're going to send Charlie Denny to the New York Mets organization in exchange for 20-year-old relief pitching prospect Robbie Morris. With a lot of our top bullpen prospects entering the major league ranks this season, I wanted to replenish the bullpen a little bit in the farm system. By the way, Eduardo Rodriguez ended up signing with the Mets this offseason, and if you're curious, Kenyon Middleton signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers on a 2-year, $10 million deal. Aristides Aquino is just not a player who I feel like we need anymore. He's now 29 years old, and I don't really see a future with him for us, and I think he deserves an opportunity to actually play, and I don't think he's going to get that opportunity with us. I think he would with the Diamondbacks instead, and in exchange we'll acquire a relief pitching prospect, Quinton Papp, again trying to replenish the bullpen a little bit. So that's going to conclude the offseason. No shortage of big moves. We got quite a few big-name players, including Corbin Burns, Jordan Hicks, Nick Castellanos, and a lot of good prospects as well. I've decided for now not to stream spring training like normal. I've just been busy with a lot of stuff. So I think in the next episode, we're going to breeze through spring training and jump right into the regular season because that's what I imagine you guys want to see anyway. So we will briefly cover spring training and then start season number 4 in the next episode. I hope you guys are excited. Let me know what you thought of our off season down below in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're new. Peace out.